Imagine you are poor, desperately poor. You live in England, maybe Ireland, maybe Germany, and you have nothing. No land, no future, no hope. And then someone makes you an offer. Cross the Atlantic Ocean, work for 5 to 7 years, and at the end, freedom. Land, a new life in the new world. Tens of thousands of people took that offer. They signed a contract, boarded a ship, and trusted that the crossing would lead somewhere better than where they came from. On September 15, 1747, a shipload of those hopeful people made it all the way across the Atlantic Ocean. They had survived weeks at sea. They could see Virginia. They were almost there. And then, a sudden violent hurricane struck the Rapphannock River, and more than 50 of them drowned before they ever set foot on American soil. This is their story. Welcome to my channel, Historical Disasters USA. Who were indentured servants? To truly feel the weight of this disaster, you need to understand who these people were and what they were risking everything for. Indentured servants were men and women who signed a contract by which they agreed to work for a certain number of years in exchange for transportation to Virginia, and once they arrived, food, clothing, and shelter. Adults usually served for 4 to 7 years, and children sometimes for much longer, with most working in the colony's tobacco fields. Before the rise of indentured servitude, a large demand for labor existed in the colonies to help build settlements, farm crops, and serve as tradesmen. But many laborers in Europe could not afford the transatlantic crossing, which could cost roughly half a worker's annual wage. Think about that, half a year's wages, just to pay for the crossing. For a poor English or Irish farm worker in 1747, that was an impossible sum. Indentured servitude was the only door available. Sign away 5 to 7 years of your life, and America would let you in. The Atlantic crossing was an arduous and dangerous 8 to 10 week journey. Passengers had to frequently contend with seasickness, infection, disease, and death on board the overcrowded vessels. All who made this journey chanced a harrowing voyage, anywhere from 5 weeks to several months across the temperamental Atlantic, armed only with a hope for a better future. Only about 40% of indentured servants lived to complete the terms of their contracts. 40%. Less than half ever lived to see their freedom. Disease, harsh treatment, overwork. The odds were brutally against them, and yet they came. By the tens of thousands they came, because even a 40% chance of a better life was better than the certainty of poverty they were leaving behind. Colonial Virginia in 1747. Virginia's economy centered on tobacco, a valuable cash crop that relied on indentured servants before dramatically shifting to African slave labor by the 18th century. By 1747, indentured servitude was already declining. African slavery was becoming dominant, but ships still carried indentured servants across the Atlantic, still docked at the river of the Virginia. Tidewater still brought desperate people from Europe to work Virginia's fields. In the 18th century, ships sailing indentured servants and transported convicts often docked at ports along the Rappahannock and Potomac rivers. Urbana was one of the 20 towns created by an act passed by the Colonial House of Burgesses in 1680 to encourage the creation of port towns that would open trade with the colonies. The town was officially named Urbana in 1706 and had one of Virginia's 11 surviving colonial courthouses. Urbana, Virginia, a small colonial port town on the Rapphannock River, a place where ships from England regularly docked and loaded their human cargo of indentured servants and loaded up with tobacco for the return voyage. On September 15, 1747, a ship carrying a full load of indentured servants was approaching Urbana. They had crossed the entire Atlantic Ocean. They were just south of town. They could almost certainly see the Virginia's shore. The hurricane strike. On September 15, 1747, a shipload of indentured servants, whose goal was to cross the Atlantic and pay for it with years of servitude, was lost in the Rapphannock River. She was struck just south of Urbana by a sudden violent hurricane and immediately capsized. More than 50 drowned during the storm. Immediately capsized, not slowly sinking, not giving passengers time to reach the deck. Immediately, in an instant, the ship rolled over and went down. These were people who had survived weeks on the Atlantic Ocean, who had endured storms at sea, disease, overcrowding, hunger, who had made it all the way across the world. And they drowned within sight of the shore they had crossed an ocean to reach. They were there. They could see Virginia. Some of them, perhaps most of them, could not swim. Swimming was not a common skill in 18th century England. The Rapphannock River, whipped into fury by the hurricane, was cold, violent, and merciless. 50 people gone in minutes. Who were they? Here is the heartbreaking truth about the victims of the Rapphannock hurricane of 1747. We do not know their names. History has not preserved them. 50 people drowned, and not one of them left a name in the historical record. American newspapers reported the arrival of new human cargo, highlighted their skills, and informed readers when they would be sold off. Once aboard, Prospective buyers would painstakingly examine the servants. They were treated as cargo, as commodity, as property to be examined and sold. Their names mattered to nobody in power. Only their skills, their strength, their years of labor. And so when they died nameless in the historical record. 50 human beings who crossed an ocean with hope in their hearts. And all history remembers is the number. More than 50 indentured servants drowned in the Rapphannock River. September 15, 1747. Their names are unknown. Their courage is not. Servants who ranged from convicted criminals to skilled workers in time came to occupy the lowest rung on the social ladder in Virginia. While tenants kept half of what they earned, servants kept nothing and were almost entirely at the mercy of their masters for the terms of their indentures. They were the lowest rung. They owned nothing. They earned nothing. They had signed away years of their lives, and now they had lost their lives entirely. Before they ever set foot on the soil, they had crossed the world to reach. The broader storm. The hurricane that capsized the indentured servants' ship near Urbana was not a small local squall. It was a significant storm that caused widespread destruction across the Virginia Tidewater region. Heavy rain ruined tobacco crops and flooded roads. Tobacco in storage was also damaged at the warehouse. Heavy damage was seen in Chesapeake Bay. High winds tore off the top of the wharf at Yorktown. A schooner rammed a nearby storehouse. 4 ships in the York River were driven ashore. At least 4 ships were destroyed at the south end of Chesapeake Bay. Bodies washed ashore from the shipwrecks for days afterward. Damage in the area totaled £30,000 in currency of the colonies. £30,000 in 1747 colonial money, that was an enormous sum, representing years of tobacco harvests, dozens of ships, warehouses full of goods. The storm devastated the Virginia economy at every level, but no economic figure, no amount of money, captures what was lost on the Rapphannock River that September morning. Because what was lost there cannot be counted in pounds. The world they never saw. This is the most haunting part of the story. Let us talk about what these 50 people never got to see. Finding people willing to serve as an indentured servant was hard, but there were people in England willing to take a chance at creating a better life across the Atlantic Ocean. They were recruited with the promise of free transport to Virginia, followed by free housing and food for 6 or more years in exchange for working for no pay during that period of indenture. They had been promised something. At the end of their years of service, land, freedom, a farm of their own in the Virginia countryside. A life impossible to imagine back in the poverty of England or Ireland or Germany. Upon completion of the contract, the servant would receive freedom dues, a pre-arranged termination bonus. This might include land, money, a gun, clothes, or food. On the surface, it seemed like a terrific way for the luckless English poor to make their way to prosperity in a new land. Land, money, a gun, clothes, food. To a starving English farm worker in 1747, that list was a fortune. That was the dream. That was what they had signed years of their lives away to reach. They never got there. The Rapphannock River took everything from them. 50 yards from shore, within sight of the Virginia they had crossed the world to find. Legacy and reflection. In 1991, the Urbana Historic District, including 4 buildings listed on the National Register, was established. The district has one of Virginia's 11 surviving colonial courthouses dating from 1748, as well as 2 mid-18th century residences and a rare surviving 1760s brick storehouse. Walk through Urbana, Virginia, today and you walk through one of the most beautifully preserved colonial towns in America. The courthouse, built in 1748, just 1 year after the hurricane, still stands. The river still flows. Tourists visit and photograph the historic buildings and the peaceful waterfront. Nobody puts up a sign for the 50 people who drowned just south of town on September 15, 1747. Nobody marks the spot. History moved on, as it always does, and left them behind. Between the 1630s and the American Revolution, 1/2 to 2/3 of white immigrants to the 13th colony arrived under indentures. 500,000 Europeans, mostly young men, also went to the Caribbean under indenture. 500,000 people. That is how many Europeans made this crossing as indentured servants. 500,000 people who signed away years of their lives for a chance at something better. Most of them made it. Most of them worked their years and earned their freedom and built their lives. But 50 of them on a September morning in 1747 did not. And their story deserves to be told. On September 15, 1747, a sudden violent hurricane struck the Rapphannock River just south of Urbana, Virginia. A ship carrying more than 50 indentured servants, men and women, who had crossed the entire Atlantic Ocean seeking a better life, immediately capsized. They drowned within sight of the Virginia shore. Their names were never recorded. History barely noticed them. They were cargo. They were numbers. They were the lowest rung. But they were also human beings who believed desperately and courageously that the world had something better waiting for them on the other side of the ocean. It did not. And that truth is worth remembering. That courage is worth honoring. And those 50 unnamed people deserve at least this, to be remembered. If this story moved you, 50 people who crossed an entire ocean and drowned within sight of the shore, hit subscribe, because on Historical Disasters USA, we make sure the forgotten ones, the nameless ones, are never truly forgotten.